Fall 2018 Rikard Lecture. Today we are honored to have as our guest Mr. Darren Eales, a man who has had a huge impact on the sports industry in Atlanta and around the globe. The Rikard Lecture Series, established in 1991, is named after Mac A. Rikard, an Oglethorpe alumnus, Athletic Hall of Fame member, and trustee emeritus. Mr. Rikard, who passed away in 1996, was the former president of Allied Products Company and a supporter of Oglethorpe athletics and student scholarships. To recognize the many individuals who impact the university through gifts of time, service, and monetary support, Oglethorpe is celebrating Philanthropy Week. On behalf of the students and faculty in Division 5, we would like to thank Mr. Bill Hammock, in addition to the Rikard family, for their continued support of our programs. Beside me is a panel of 4 students prepped and ready to ask Mr. Eales a series of insightful and business-focused questions. Before introducing our guests, I would like to ask our student panelists to each introduce themselves, starting with Diane.
Hi everyone, my name is Diane. I'm a senior at Oglethorpe University. I don't really prepare much, but hello.
And your major is?
Oh, my major is HR.
Hello everyone. My name is Drew Lazzotti and I'm a sophomore here at Oglethorpe University and I'm on the soccer team.
Hi y'all, my name is Addison First. I'm a sophomore from Hillsborough, North Carolina. I'm a major in economics and international studies, and I play volleyball here.
Hello, my name is Kelvin Schneider. I'm a sophomore from Madison, Wisconsin, and I'm studying accounting here.
Our featured guest today, British-born Darren Eales, was named president of Atlanta United in September 2014. Prior to coming to Atlanta, Mr. Eales served as the executive director at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, part of the English Premier League. Mr. Eales spent his college years in the United States playing on a soccer scholarship, first at West Virginia University and then transferring to Brown University at the end of his freshman year. While at Brown, he received several impressive honors, including Ivy League Player of the Year, NSCAA First Team All-America, and USA Today Student Athlete of the Year before graduating with a degree in economics. After college, Mr. Eales played professional soccer in the U.S., but injuries led him back to England, where he earned an MA in law at Cambridge University. He practiced law at 2 Temple Gardens Chambers in London, where he remains a door tenant. Mr. Eales served as in-house counsel, director, and club secretary at West Brom Football Club for 4 years, and then in 2010 joined Tottenham. In 2014, he was named president of Atlanta United, the 22nd Major League Soccer team. Under his leadership, Atlanta United has surpassed the expectations of even the most loyal of soccer fans. Just this past Sunday, in front of a crowd of over 70,000, Atlanta United equaled the all-time MLS point record with a 2-1 win over Chicago Fire. The victory also clinched their spot in next year's CONCACAF Champions League. The team set a new record for MLS total home attendance with more than 900,000 fans over 17 games and a single season average of over 53,000 fans per game. Sunday's record, by the way, crowd was the 6th largest in league history. 2 players, Joseph Martinez and Miguel Almiron, are in the top 5 of jersey sales. I'd also like to add that a victory against Toronto next Sunday will secure the team's first Supporter Shield. We wish them the best. For the next 20 to 25 minutes, our panelists will ask Mr. Eales some questions. Per his request, there will be no questions about economics. Followed by Q&A with the audience. It is my pleasure to welcome and introduce the president of Atlanta United, Mr. Darren Eales. So he will ask the first question.
Okay, so it seems like quite a risk or a big step for you to take to lead your position running in such a big club and perennial superhouse like Tottenham in the Premier League. So what intrigued you about coming here to Atlanta to start a new club?
Well, thanks for the question. Thanks everyone for inviting me today. And apologies for being late. I've got no excuse. I was caught in traffic. I've been here 4 years now. I should have known better, but we're always double the time I think it's going to take me. That's a great question. So just a little bit of background. So I was at Tottenham Hotspur. I like it, perennial superpower. I don't think we were called that in England, certainly not from the Arsenal fans. It was a great role, but the way it worked at Tottenham is we had an owner, Daniel Levy, who was very much in charge on the commercial side. And so from my perspective, I dealt on the soccer side of things, but I was never going to get a chance to do everything while I had Daniel owned the club. And I think an opportunity came from headhunters that there was this chance to start a new club in Atlanta. So that was intriguing on the first fact, because you just don't get to start a club from scratch anywhere else in the world. Tottenham had been around 125 years, West Brom, the club I worked at before, 125 years. So that blank sheet of paper was something that really intrigued me. And the second thing was, from a personal perspective, my wife's American, and she was actually pregnant with twins. And we'd have a chat. It was so unfunny how these things work. It was a Sunday, I'll always remember it. She'd said, look, if anything came up in America, we'd better consider it. And I sort of thought and said, well, yes, because one, you just have to say yes to that. But I was thinking in the back of my mind, there'll never be an opportunity anyway that's going to tempt me away, so I can say that without fear of actually having to follow through. On the Tuesday, I got a call from a headhunter to say, would you be interested? And so I had to say yes, I'll at least go for the interview. But what really sold it to me was Arthur Blank, and I know you guys will be familiar with Arthur. My concern was this an owner that was really engaged in making the soccer team at the time was called MLS Atlanta 2017. Is this something he's really committed to being a success, or is it just something as another tenant in the building, the new stadium he's building, a little brother to the Falcons? So that was my biggest concern, I think, coming in. When I met Arthur the first time, I actually met him up at Flowery Branch, and it was interesting for me because I was still under contract at Tottenham. I'd had to sneak away to go do the interview because I couldn't tell them that was what was going on. So I went up to Flowery Branch, which, as you know, is quite a long way away from here. I get there and there's just TV cameras everywhere. And it's really thrown me because literally I come in reception, it's a TV camera. I walk down the corridor and they were filming Hard Knocks, the TV show, which gets shown in England about 3 weeks after it's shown in America. So there's a scene where you can actually watch it now, and in the background watching the practice, there's me with a Falcons hat on. I've got like a Falcons jacket on, sunglasses, because I just don't want to get all my cameras in. If I don't get the gig and I'm back in Tottenham, I don't want anyone to know. But I met Arthur, and it was amazing. There was Arthur Blank, Rich McKay, who's my equivalent for the Falcons, Penny McPhee, who runs the foundation, which is really important to Arthur, Dick Sullivan, part of the PGA Superstore, which is another part of Arthur's businesses. And what that said to me was, this is a man that's fully committed about making soccer a success. So when you add that owner and what he was going to do, a blank sheet of paper, the personal reasons, and another thing, I think for all the people in the room, ultimately in life you've got to take some risks. And my view was, what's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work out, I'll go back and get a role back in football in England. But if I don't give it a chance, I'll always regret the fact that I didn't take that step. And I think throughout my career, when I went from actually being a barrister to going into the front office, when I worked at West Bromwich Albion, it was the same risk, but ultimately, life's too short to sort of second guess yourself. I think you've got to give it a go. Obviously, have an exit strategy, but as long as you've got something you can fall back on, you can afford to take a risk.
Yeah. Looks like the risk paid off for you so far. So, next question.
It's me. All right. Hello. Welcome.
Hi there.
So I guess we're going to take it back a little bit. So tell us about your decision to leave the UK and come to the US for college and to play college soccer.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. So just a little bit of background on me. So I'm a failed soccer player, really. I played for a team called Cambridge United, which at the time I was with them was in the Championship. So that's the league below the Premier League. So pretty good standard. But the team I played for, at 18, I wasn't going to get a professional contract. So I knew that I was going to have to do something else. And my parents, thank goodness, had insisted that I stay on in school. So in England, at 16, you can leave school, or you can carry on doing what they call A-levels, and then you go from A-levels to university. So I was a pretty rare person in that I had a scholarship, so I was basically a professional soccer player on a scholarship, but I stayed on the school. So my nickname was the professor, the prof, because no one would do, why would you stay on the school? I got a lot of stick for doing that, but thank goodness I did. So at 18, I knew I wasn't going to get a professional contract beyond there, and I'd heard that they had these things in America where you could go on a scholarship and they would pay for you to go out there, and we heard that a coach was coming to have a look at some players. What they wanted was someone at 18 being released who had the necessary qualifications. And I'll be honest with you, I think I was probably one of only 6 people in the country that probably met that criteria. So it was a low bar in terms of stepping up. And the guy came, so the scout comes to watch me, And I know he's there. We weren't very good, my team that I played for, my youth team. We lost 4-0, I remember, to West Ham, but I knew the guys there, so I'm taking a throw in, I'm just running, my guts out, we're 4-0 down. And I remember my teammates were like, "What are you doing, Mr. Busy? Why are you running around? We're losing 4-0, but I wanted to impress this guy." And then he came back to my house, and this will date me with you guys, but so he had a slide projector. So there was none of this, you had to just sort of show you on your iPhone or iPad. So he had this big slide projector, and he was showing me these pictures from West Virginia University. And he showed me the football stadium, 65,000 packed to the gills. I was like, wow, that looks pretty good. My mum went to make a cup of tea, and then he told me about these things called sororities. He said, basically, with your accent, they're going to love you. So my mum, and I said to my mum, I think academically this sounds like a perfect opportunity. You encouraged me to take risks. Why don't I go for a year, like a gap year? So that was the deal I struck my parents. I'll go for a year and I'll come back and get a proper degree in England. But I loved it. And, bear in mind, we don't have it in England, these sort of university facilities. So, West Virginia, the facilities were better than Cambridge United. We had video technology, we had the weight room that the American football team had. We played in the football stadium in front of about 200 people if we were lucky, because, no one came for the soccer matches. But it was a really good, I just loved the way that you combine the student athletics. So for me, I then thought, well, if I'm going to stay here, my parents said, well, you can stay, but you've got to go to a university we've heard of. So I went to Brown. I think I'm still the only person in history to transfer from West Virginia University to Brown University. But Brown was a great school, I had a great time. And then I was very lucky when I graduated that it was when the World Cup in 1994 was in America. So soccer was taking off, I was able to play professionally. So, I'm really glad I did it, but it was a very circuitous route to get there.
Thank you so much.
Okay, kind of going back again. So you said your wife was on board to move to America. She was kind of excited too. So was that a difficult transition from one culture to one that's completely different?
It wasn't as bad, and I think, for me, what really helped was I'd spent about 7 years in America when I was at university, and then a couple of years playing professionally. And actually, when I look back, that really helped me in the transition from, just sort of coming to Atlanta and living in Atlanta. But also, I think, as we built the club, the fact that I played soccer when they were trying to I call it Americanized soccer. So in the 1994-95 era, the view was Americans just don't appreciate soccer. They want high-scoring games. They want games that last 4 hours with timeouts. They just don't get the concept of soccer. So how can we take soccer and make it better for Americans? So they tried all sorts of silly things like one thing we had in one of the leagues I played in was team fouls, like you have in basketball. We'd have these 17 fouls, but if you had a 17th foul and a half, the game stopped and it was a shootout. It was just crazy. And what that did was, the problem was, it alienated the person that loved soccer. So, if you were someone that knew the game, you just felt this was gimmicky and it didn't really attract you. And to be honest, if you didn't like soccer, it wasn't enough to entice you in. So it was neither fish nor foul, it just didn't really help. And I think, as we've built Atlanta United and as MLS has grown, having that background of being there when it failed certainly helped me. And then on the transition, I'll be honest with you, although I'd spent time in America, I had a view of Atlanta in my head, because I'd only played here. I'd sort of literally flown in and played a match left. So I had that stereotypical view of the South. And I'm telling you now, I'm the biggest advocate of Atlanta as a city. I think it's the hidden gem of North America, because everyone's heard of New York, LA, but Atlanta is this exciting, young, thriving city. It's got, great weather. Crumbs, this is so much better than England. This the crazy thing now, I'm thinking, it's a bit chilly today. If this was England, I'd have my shirt off, sunbathing on the park bench, because it's like a hot summer's day. But, so the weather's great. You've got this exciting sort of restaurant, foodie culture, the sports, as we'll talk about, no doubt. This myth that it's not a sports town is total rubbish. So I think, Atlanta's a great city, so it's pretty easy to sort of acclimatise.
Thank you. It's me again. So, at Brown, you received a lot of accolades and awards. So, can you tell us about what fueled your success, and then how did you balance the demands of soccer, but also, getting all these academic awards and being able to balance your academics as well?
Well, the first thing I'd say is I think, student athletics is one of the best things you can do in terms of life skills. So, I think, and I think back to my first year when I was at West Virginia University, and you're training at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then you've got to do the whole day of lectures. And we were soccer, so let's face it, we're not the American football team or the basketball team. I really had to sort of empathy for and respect, because they were driving those huge crowds. They play a lot of games. They're traveling all over the place. So to be able to balance those schedules, I think, is a real great life skill. And if I go to any profession, but my time at the bar, and as a barrister, so that's the wig and gown. You look very silly we do it in England. You turn up to court with your wig and gown on, but you're self-employed as a barrister. You're in effect running a business, and that ability to be able to deal with all those various facets, I think, is a real plus in student athletics, and it's something that I think in England is missing. We don't have that level of student athletics, and it's something I'd love to see. So I think that was a fantastic part of the student athlete experience that I had in America. I think for me as well, I'm just very competitive, so that sort of drove me in terms of always wanted to try and do my best, and I was just really fortunate. Brown was a great school. I liked it, and not to get too in the weeds, but the reason I liked it more perhaps, or I appreciate it more than my background in England, is the way we have the system in England. So at 16 you choose A-levels, and you narrow that to 3 subjects. So I was already down to maths, physics and economics. I liked history, I just couldn't do history because you can only do 3. So what I loved about the student experience in America is this ability to take different courses and build it towards a degree. So I could do Russian literature, which I did at Brown as a one class, and I could do that. I could do something I enjoyed and loved, and it wasn't, I wasn't sort of narrowing myself right down to economics only, and every class was about economics. I do think, in my sort of view, that's what I like about the American system.
Thank you so much.
So sort of staying in the theme of academics, what factors influenced your decision to go back to England and get that law degree?
So a couple of things. I played in the professional league, so it's a year before the MLS started. So the league that Atlanta United plays in now got delayed by a year. So I played for a team called the New York Centaurs, great name. It was a horrible kid with a centaur literally right on our shirt. And we played in Randall Island. So those of you who know New York City, it's between Queens and Manhattan. And it's where the old Cosmos used to play. So it was where Pele and the era of that great New York Cosmos team used to play in front of 40,000. And again, we played in front of tens of people if we were lucky. It was just no one would come to our games. It was still in that era where soccer hadn't quite caught on. It was a shame in that respect. But I got injured, so unfortunately for me, I hurt my hamstring really badly. So I had a bad tear, and I was quick and nothing else. So I had nothing to fall back on. Some players, Wayne Rooney is a great example. So Wayne Rooney doing really well for DC United. He was fairly quick in his youth, but he's a really skillful player. So he can now reinvent himself as almost a number 10 who sits behind the forward and dictates play. I was a ball over the top, run really quick and score 1 in 5 chances. Once I lost my pace, I had nothing else to fall back on. So it was that realization that problems are going to have to think about getting a proper job and a proper career. And for me, part of it was the legal profession of being a barrister, being self-employed, was something that appealed to me. Also, I'll be honest with you, coming from Cambridge, I lived in Cambridge, so I'd always been, Cambridge is dominated by university, so it's a wonderful city, very picturesque, very beautiful, but I'd always been a townie. They call it town and gown, and I wanted to go back and do the university experience and have an Oxbridge education. So for me, the way it works in England is, because I hadn't done a degree in England, it was free, because your first degree gets funded by the government. So to be honest, it was a no-brainer in that sense that I could go to a great university like Cambridge and then go on to that career. But Cambridge is a different world. I mean, it's very Harry Potter for those of you, I played we had a blues game, so Oxford against Cambridge is known as the blues match. They have it in rowing, which is really big. They have it in rugby, and in soccer it's still the game, and you literally get a blues blazer if you play in that game. So you can play in the other 30 games that season, score a hat-trick in every game. If you're injured for the blues game, you don't get the lovely light jacket that you never ever wear again, put your colour, but that's the prestige. So it was quite fun to go to a university like Cambridge, which has all that sort of history, which it was my sort of Harry Potter experience.
All right, so you touched already a little bit about building a team from scratch. So how would you say that you were able to recruit such high-quality players for such a powerhouse?
It was interesting. So if I just take a step back, so the way people have normally built a team in Major League Soccer, so you have an expansion draft, so you know you're going to get some players from the other teams, because the way it works in Major League Soccer is it's a single entity, so all the players are actually owned by the league and then assigned to each of the clubs. And so the way they do it is they say, okay, you can protect your top 11 players, and then the new teams coming in can take a number of players from each club that is in effect their 12th best player. So that's not really a great reliable way to get good quality talent, because you're already taking the not so good players from other teams. The other way would be to bring in what they call designated players, and those are the players that you can pay over above the salary cap. So unlike the rest of the world, in Major League Soccer we have a salary cap. So roughly, let's use rough numbers, $4 million is the salary cap, except for 3 players that you can pay over and above that, whatever is owner funded, so whatever the owner will put in there. By way of illustration, when I was at Tottenham, our wage bill, we weren't capped, but the wage bill we were spending at the time was about 20 times that. So really, for what you paid for everybody, was about an average player that I had at Tottenham. So you've got to build a squad differently. And the way that I'd approached it, and the way that I pitched it when I first went to Arthur Blank was, I felt that the time was right, that you could persuade a young player to come to the league, develop for a couple of years, and then make that move to whether it's a Real Madrid or Arsenal in the Premier League or a Bundesliga side, rather than go and get a David Beckham or the insert aging pro who's on his last contract just before he retires. And the thing about that, what's different, and why it was groundbreaking in a way, is yes, you have to pay money for the registration. So the way it works in soccer is, if I want to go and get Miguel Almiron, a top young talent from South America, I have to pay for his registration to his former club. So Lanús gets a payment for us to be able to sign that player. We then have to do a deal with the player himself, so there's 2 deals to be done. But the thing about that is that if that player were to ever move on, the club that he goes to pays us for his registration. So actually, you're not putting dead money back, X amount that you pay for the transfer fee. You can recoup it or even make some money if you sell them on. If I go and sign player Z, who's this old, aged, over-the-hill Premier League player, I signed him for a 3-year deal. His last 3 years before he keels over. We paid $6 million a year. So that's 18 million that you're going to spend over 3 years, and you know you'll never get anything else back. So that's 18 million of dead money. What we've done is try to use our money to invest in younger talent, which we felt would be better on the pitch, but also then would help us to, in terms of, take that money and then reinvest it in the next player.
So what was your initial vision for Atlanta United, and how has that vision changed as the club has grown?
Initially it was pretty simple, and it was funny actually, I was talking, we have an audit for our academy system. So these guys come in every year and they do an audit, and they wanted to understand how important the academy was to us. And we'll talk a little bit later on the academy and the youth setup. And actually, I just found the presentation I gave to Arthur at that very first interview, in classic fashion, he'd asked me the night before to just put a presentation together. So you can imagine panicking to death, trying to knock together a PowerPoint presentation in the sort of 12 hours I had. But what was fascinating, I looked at that, and it was 3 really simple points. It was winning team on the pitch was always our objective. We wanted to be competitive from day one. Secondly, we wanted to create the best fan experience. And thirdly, we wanted to be in the heart of the community. And actually, everything we've ever done since then is through the prism of those 3 objectives. I'm sure it's got more tricky and more sophisticated as we're building the club, but actually everything we do goes back to those 3 pillars. And I think it's quite useful to have those sort of guiding principles, because then if you stray off it, it helps you draw you back into what you should be doing. And just let me give you a concrete example of that. So, booming first year success, and we just couldn't believe how the city got behind the team. We averaged 48,000 that year, which put us in the top 20 in the world. We made the playoffs first year as an expansion team. So it was an incredibly successful season, and we were blown away with the support we got from our amazing fans. And then we were going into the second season, and we were pretty exhausted as a business, because we set up the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium, a brand new team at Atlanta United. We built a training ground. We were about to set up Atlanta United 2, which is our second team, which plays up in Gwinnett at Coolray Field. And so we planned to do a meet and greet, open sort of training session in February for our fans. And we were thinking about killing it just because of the strain on our staff. And actually, I thought about it that night, and I thought, no, because this is so fundamental to what we're trying to do, in terms of our fans, not taking them for granted, making sure that we create moments where the fan can feel connected to the players, that we can't do that. We've got to do it because it meets one of our key guiding principles. But what we actually ended up doing was we did a surprise unveiling of our new kit. So we took what was a fan experience and then added to it a sort of business goal and objective from it. And thank goodness we did it, because not only was it a great launch of our kit, the kit that came from the fans, but the 2,500 fans that turned up that day, all of them loved the experience, and I think it's really important that we don't forget that connection with the fans. So I think having those simple goals when you're making more complicated decisions really helps you, because sometimes it's easy to lose the wood for the trees, and you sometimes make a decision and it's nagging at you and you know it's wrong, but you want to like sort of sit there and just think why it is. And usually you'll find it's because you'll have set your pillars on whatever it is that you're building, whatever it is that your business is, and there'll be a reason why it's causing that discomfort in the back of your mind.
Thank you.
So you were just talking about the fan base that you built here. Atlanta United is brand new, so how did you go about building that brand that those fans could get behind?
Well, I mean, it really has been incredible, and all the credit to the success we've had is two reasons really. It's Arthur Blank and it's the fans of Atlanta that have made it the amazing sort of experience it is. If I go back to 2014, it's interesting because we were really lucky as a club to be coming in at the time we are, because you get to learn from all the clubs that have come before you. So as we came into the league, I think there was already an exception. People had noticed that it was the millennials that were driving the fan experience and the engagement, and not the soccer moms. Traditionally, soccer thought it was going to be the soccer mom that was going to bring you to sort of success. And if you look at MLS, there's stadiums like Chicago's actually 30 minutes outside of Chicago. Colorado's is out in the suburbs with about 20 pitches around. And the theory was at the time, you build these facilities, people come to tournaments, and then the soccer moms will bring their kids to the games, and you get the revenue of the matches. And actually what happened is, they were also exhausted after, carting their kids around the weekend to play tournaments. They weren't coming to the matches. And Seattle was the moment where it all changed. So Seattle was a new team coming in the NFL stadium downtown. And suddenly they burst on the scene with 30,000 crowds from the off, which no one had seen the likes of. But people were marching from the pubs, and it was creating that culture that you see now every game you go to Atlanta United. But it was that downtown, real sort of younger group that were driving the energy. So our focus was all about the people that we call our avid fans. So it was those fans that were prepared to give a $50 deposit as soon as the team got announced. So we had almost 10,000 people 2 months into, so it would have been April, May, June of 2014. We're still about 3 years away from playing the game. And we went after those fans. So we tried to do things that created moments that they could share on social media. They were in effect our micro ambassadors out there sharing Atlanta United, what it was going to be to be a supporter of it. So I remember we did, one of my favourite moments was the Inman Park Festival. So we tried to engage with our fans at anything we could that sort of got them together and created moments. So we got our supporters together for the Inman Park Festival, and we hadn't really thought it through too well, but it was basically some t-shirts. We had to paint balls that you could splat on the t-shirts, and then we had to smoke. So I always remember it, so you could see the Atlanta United group from about half a mile away. There was this cloud of dust sort of as the sort of parade came through, and it just created a moment. I mean, we've still got imagery from that we used in, when we were setting up the club, because remember, we didn't have any matches before 2017. We had this fantastic imagery of our fans, getting behind the club, being excited, and that shared the excitement. So everything we did was focused on the avid fan. And what's been interesting, and I think this has been a great lesson for the other clubs in Major League Soccer, I think it's a broader lesson for sort of marketing and business, is if you focus on those key fans, so our fans that make the energy, that make the stadium something you want to come to. 48,000 last year, and everyone said, yeah, it's the shiny new object, it's going to drop second year. We averaged 53,000 this year, so a 10% increase. Our actual merchandise increased, which has never ever happened to another MLS club, where the first year when you think everyone's going to buy the stuff and then forget about it, we actually sold more. And part of that is people are bringing their fence-sitting friends. I spoke about it earlier. That fan that might be an American football fan, college football, but never been to a soccer game. If we try and market at them, we're never really going to get them to come to a game. But you, as a Manchester United fan who have been to the game, and you're telling them, and you're dragging them along for a match, and then they come and they think, wow, I enjoyed that. So what we found was that sort of marketing our core audience is then, it's like the ripples in a pond, and now, in effect, the club's marketing itself, which is exciting because we don't know what the scene might be.
So given your emphasis on the fan experience, do you think you would have had as much success building that fan base had Atlanta United not been as successful as it has?
That's the $1 million question. And it's the question everybody asks, what's the secret sauce? I mean, if you put a pie chart together of what are the factors that made Atlanta United what it is. I think it's impossible to say exactly what part each part played, because we can't do a beta test and go back in time and say, okay, let's put a team out that starts and see it. Second season, have we still got 53,000? Is it 52,000? Is it 12? You know, we don't really know what it is, but I think, you know, there was certainly when I talked about those three pillars, Arthur Blank is very competitive, so he wants a competitive team. I think, you know, that's part of the success we had early, is people knew as soon as it was Arthur Blank as the owner, they knew that he was going to put resources behind it. So we absolutely were focused on a competitive team. And I think I'll just share one other story with you, and again, it's going back to that first ever interview. I'd read the book about Seattle Sounds. There's a great book called Authentic Masterpiece about their launch onto the scene. And you read it, and it talks about all the things they did well, the way that they built grassroots marketing, some of the things I've been talking about today. And then in chapter 10, there's an article, there's a chapter for one of their supporting readers that says, they talk about the first ever game. So Seattle's first game at home was against Red Bulls, 9-6. Red Bulls had won the league the year before, and Seattle beat them 3-0. And they were by far and away the most successful expansion team when they kicked off till we came along. But the thing about it was, what the guy was saying was, I wonder how it would have been if we hadn't won that first game. And that really resonated to me, and you know, that was my point to Arthur, was yes, we could do all of these brand building exercises, and I'll be honest, I think Arthur, when they came into it, and Arthur admitted it, he was probably looking more for a business brand marketeer to start the club as president, because he felt that this was a brand play, this is a new team, and it's all about building a brand. But actually, you know, the discussion we were having is, if you do it well with an authentic team, you tell stories around it, you know, the team is the brand vehicle, and actually that can get you the success. And I think we've seen that with Atlanta United, because I didn't mention it about the shirts. You know, last year, the #1 selling shirt was Miguel Almiron. It wasn't Bastian Schweinsteiger, who Chicago Fire had spent a lot of money bringing over from Manchester United. It was Miguel, and with the greatest respect, probably 2% of our fans had heard of Miguel Almiron before he came to Atlanta United, but we could tell stories around him. He was a real, you know, person in the flesh that people were watching and getting excited about, and you could create those brands. I think that's partly another sort of micro learning from Atlanta United is, I tell the other expansion teams coming in, don't get sort of too wound up about who the player is from a brand profile. It's about how you tell the story.
Okay, I'm going to keep your attention a little longer. So since the current manager and coach, Tata Martino, is not renewing his contract, what will you be looking for as you look for his replacement?
Well, first thing is, it's going to be big shoes to fill, because Tata Martino has been such a great coach for Atlanta United. I mean, he's been an incredible guy in terms of the way he set the team up on the pitch. I think, you know, it speaks for itself in terms of the results we've had. But the way that he's presented himself as, you know, the face of the franchise as our coach, he's been just a great guy to work with. And, you know, from our perspective, we couldn't have wished for a better coach to start us off. And the exciting thing now is we've had 2 great seasons, and we're hoping we sort of the rest of the season to go with some trophies to come. It puts us in a superb position now as we look for that next coach. But the next coach, there's a few key criteria. Firstly, we've always spoken about Atlanta United being an exciting team. So right from day one, if you're going to build a club up from scratch, you might as well make it exciting. I mean, we're in the entertainment industry. Who wants to go to watch a team that tries to defend for 90 minutes and nick a goal on the break? So my philosophy always was, I'd rather win a game 4-3 than 1-0. So we want to be exciting, we want to be expansive, we're going to try and get those young, dynamic players. And Tata's done a great job melding those together and building the team we've got. So clearly we'd be pretty stupid if we tried to bring a coach in now that didn't play an attacking style of play, high press, with those types of players. So that's the first criteria, is playing style, they've got to have that ability. Secondly, youth development is really important to us. So Tata gave George Bello, a 16-year-old, his debut a few weeks ago. Andrew Carlton from Powder Springs, a local guy, 18, has made his debut this season. And that's really important to us, that we have this pipeline from our academy coming through, so they have to have a focus on youth development. That's an absolute priority. And the third thing, more generally, I'd say culture. And by culture, I mean we have core values across all of our businesses. And the way we sort of look at it is that you want to have a specialist, that every person you hire, you want them to be a specialist in their field. But you almost take that for granted. What you don't take for granted is, what are their core values? Are they someone that actually, when we talk about community, can they demonstrate that in actual stories? Not even in a line on the CV, but when I'm interviewing with them, I want to hear real examples of how they give back to the community and hear it from them. So that, for our coaches, is really important. And also, we're still a team and a league that can grow the sport. So it's absolutely imperative that this coach buys into the fact that we are a team with a close connection with our supporters. So we do a ritual at the end of our games with a golden spike, where the winner, our fans vote the player of the game, and he comes up and gets the spike actually physically from the fans. He comes up to the little capo stand we have behind the supporter section. And win, lose or draw, he does that. Even if we lose. Now in other countries, really difficult to get your players to engage with supporters if you lost a game. And again, the coach has to understand that those are non-negotiables. You know, that idea that we drive and bring our players in so that the fans can meet them. We're not going to not do that because the coach says, oh, I want our players to focus on the match. You know, he has to understand we're building a team, we're part of the city of Atlanta, and part of our success has been that close connection. We can never lose that. So those are the sort of three key criteria we're looking at.
So I'm sure you have a lot of candidates for that position. Do you know when you'll be announcing his replacement?
Well, give me a bit of time, because we're only yesterday. You're telling me leaving. What's going to be fascinating this time is when we hired Tata before, it was a really unusual circumstance for hiring a coach, because if I look back to my time with Tottenham Hotspur or with West Bromwich Albion, you're usually hiring a coach in two circumstances. Either you fired the previous coach, so you're quickly trying to get a replacement because it's usually during the season and results haven't gone your way, or you've had a coach poached by another club. And again, time's of the essence. So a lot of the coaches I've done have been literally 48-hour situations where you've really had to sort of scurry to get someone in. When we hired Tata, I came in nearly 4 years ago now, so November 2014, our team is going to be assembling in January 17 for pre-season. So you have this whole range of time when you obviously weren't going to hire someone 4 years before you kicked the ball because you're paying them for pretty much doing nothing. You don't want to do it too late because you want to have his input as you're building the squad. So it was difficult because at every moment in time you were considering the candidates, but you were also considering someone better than come along in the future. So for me, it was quite tricky because I was keeping a lot of people warm by having conversations, talking about the possibility, not telling them no, but not telling them yes, but not saying, I'm not telling you yes because then someone better might come along in a week. And thank goodness we did that, because all of a sudden Tata came from nowhere. He quit his job with Argentina, obviously he wasn't on my list, but suddenly he became available and he was the man for us. So that was quite interesting with Tata, but we didn't have a team, we didn't have a stadium, we didn't have a training ground. He had to buy into the vision. Now we're in a great position because we're one of the top clubs in MLS. We're going to be 14th in the world in terms of global attendance, which is just practice to think about it. That an American club could be that in the second season. We've got superb facilities, we've got great players. So it's not a sit back, but I can now afford to sit back a little bit, and everyone's coming to me saying, I want that job, I want that job. So I'm in a lovely position now where it's not me going out there selling myself, I'm actually sitting back and fielding calls from the agents. And so the time frame would be, we start pre-season in January. We've got this season we're focusing on finishing off this season well. Sometime around December, I would expect us to be looking to try and sort of finish up on hiring that coach ready for January when we start this season. But like I said, I'm excited about it personally this time because it's going to be a heck of a lot easier than the last one.
Thank you.
So with the extreme success you've had here in Atlanta, building a team and also a brand, do you think other clubs around the nation will use this from here on out as a model to develop a team and a brand?
I think so, and I hope so. I think that one of the exciting things for me in this role is you're not only working for Atlanta United, but you're working as a pioneer for the sport. And it's really important in Major League Soccer that all the teams work together to grow the game. So the example I always use, I've learned a lot coming to America and working at Atlanta United, but I think back to my Premier League days. So if I'm at Tottenham and Arsenal rang me up to say, can you share with me what did you spend on marketing? What was the for tickets? How did that work? What did you do on your pricing? You would either one, tell them nothing, say go away, I'm talking to you, or two, give them misinformation to try and screw them up so that they did the wrong things and you could jump ahead of it. Whereas in MLS, we're all in it together, so it's quite nice. You're competitive on the field, but off the field, we're all in it together trying to grow the game. So we were treated superbly by the other clubs when we came in terms of them sharing their experiences, what worked, what didn't. And we're now going through that process with whether it's Nashville, Miami, those clubs to hopefully help everybody raise their game because it's good for us all. The problem with it, and you get it in all businesses where you're successful, is everybody wants a piece of the Atlanta United magic dust. So we lost our assistant general manager, Paul McDonough, has gone to Miami as their GM. You know, we're getting people picked off, and I heard a great interview by Nick Saban, the coach who's at Alabama, when they were in Atlanta earlier this year doing their sort of media round. And he was talking about his offensive and defensive coordinators. He sort of loses one every year. But his view is that's great because he knows now people are coming there, doing it their best, giving their all, and if they do a good job, they go on to get a head coaching career somewhere else. And I see it that way with us. You know, we want best talent. We want them to put their best in, and if they do a great job and they can go somewhere else and further another club in the league, it's good for everyone because I know I'm going to get the replacement because people will want to come to Atlanta United because they understand that it's a great place for their career development. So I think, I really liked hearing from Nick Saban in that context because it made me think, yeah, that sort of reinforces that view that you could do this and still be successful year on year. Because don't let me sort of mix my message in any way. We want to be a top team every year. You know, our goal is to be like Seattle was this year, it's their 10th consecutive year, qualifying for the playoffs. We want to be in the playoffs every year, in the hunt for trophies every year, and one day, as the league gets bigger, be that global club at Manchester United of the world at the moment, to be Atlanta United.
And then, I think a lot of people are wondering here, I've always wondered, when you have two professional sports teams playing in the stadium, how tough is it logistically during the season and outside of the season, planning events and stuff like that? How difficult is it?
It is tricky. So, I mean, let's talk just pure operations to start with the stadium. So one of the things that, again, great credit to Arthur Blank, before I joined, he'd spent a lot of time trying to make it feel like a Atlanta United stadium when Atlanta United plays and a Falcon stadium when they play. And that doesn't happen at a lot of other mixed-use stadiums. So, for example, at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, we have seats that retract. So the capacity is slightly less for soccer than it is for American football, but we can have a full-size pitch, which is really important, one, for international events like the World Cup. We wouldn't be able to host the World Cup if we didn't have that ability to pull those seats back. But also, we want to play this fast, fluid, expansive style of play. So actually, it would be detrimental to us technically if we had to play with a narrow pitch. And it looks and feels different as well. So, you know, those guys who have been to a 45,000 game, we have these banners that come around with Atlanta United that kill the upper level, the 300 level. And that's brilliant because aesthetically it looks different, but it also keeps the noise in, so it actually makes it a better fan experience. And it doesn't look anything like a Atlanta Falcons game. So straight away you come into the building, it feels like you're home. And so that was really important. But the trick of that is that in effect our stadium is really the world's biggest arena because we try to run on all these different events. So our closest one we cut it was probably now I think 4 weeks ago. We played New England at 7 o'clock on a Saturday, and we had a Falcon game at 1 o'clock the next day. And what that meant was we had to strip away the lines from the soccer, paint on the American football lines, clean the whole stadium, which in a 70,000 stadium takes a lot of time, retract those seats, take away those elements of branding that we have on a game-by-game basis for Atlanta United, take those down and put the Falcons up. So that really did stretch our team. This last weekend, the game was easy because we kicked off at 4 o'clock, and it was a Monday night game on the next day. So they actually had about an extra 8 hours. So it was one of those where he said, stop moving again. 50% more time. But they've done a great job. The other thing is, where it is difficult, I think we've learned as we've gone along, is a lot of our folks are across both businesses. So anybody who's to do with Atlanta United that is fan-facing is 100% Atlanta United. So let's take the ticket office, for example. Anybody you speak to who are buying a ticket is 100% Atlanta United. They're soccer mad, they understand the sport, they understand the club, and that's really important. But at the strategic level, at the high level, we have people that work both across Falcons and United because we get to get all those benefits of economies of scale, strategic learnings. But our season runs from March to December, hopefully we get to the MLS Cup. The Falcons is running from the sort of July time through to February, fingers crossed, with the Super Bowl. So you've got a real overlap. I think we learned quite early on that we had to come up with ideas to sort of stop that burnout because you could get it for a year, you could probably get the excitement, the rush, and first thing in the Atlanta United, people are excited, but then it gets old, you're burning the candle at both ends. So I think for us the biggest learning was how do we now add that extra head count because it's needed from a staff perspective, not necessarily from a bottom line perspective, but our bottom line will be affected if we burn our staff out and end up having to replace it.
Okay, so you've talked about your relationship with Arthur Blank a couple times. Could you go into that more and talk maybe about how his management style has affected your management style and what you've taken from what you've left?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak highly enough of Arthur in terms of, what he's taught me as a mentor, as a businessman. It's been incredible. And I think, I go back to him being Home Depot and a startup guy. So for me, I had two real pluses in his background in business that made my job a lot easier than it could have been. Firstly, he started out that company. So Home Depot, taking them from that one store in Atlanta off the Memorial Drive to be the biggest, or one of the biggest retailers in the world. He understood you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So every store launch they did, it was their big moment. They had to wow factor. So he understood about sunk costs that you have to put in to build that brand equity to then be successful. So when I was asking for things like we started our academy a year before the first team ever kicked the ball, a year before we were going to get any actual revenue coming in, he understood that there was reasons behind that, both technically and also from a brand building. So that was really helpful. The other thing was he already had a sports franchise. So he had the Falcons, and as you guys know, he'd taken the Falcons would be bottom, pretty much. Bottom of every metric you want to be top of, and top of every metric you want to be bottom of. That was the Falcons. And Arthur took them over and changed that and turned it around. And that really helped me because, again, he already understood sports. So we needed a new trainer. It was easier to explain to Arthur why we needed it because he had it for the Falcons and he understood the importance of it. So those two factors from a business perspective was unbelievably helpful. But really it was his wisdom. And I'll just share one story with you guys that was the best moment for me where Arthur was a real mentor and gave me that lift I needed. He was very hands-off on building the club. He's never interfered ever on the technical side in terms of what we're trying to do, players we're doing. But we were doing the name launch and we'd spend a lot of time working on what we were going to call the name. And it was difficult because our fans were we talked to our fans in small groups as well as in a lot of sort of questions that we asked by, we've got about 20,000 our fan base at that stage. We sent them out questionnaires, trying to understand not just what is a nickname, because you could never get the answer because everybody who liked Phoenix, there were 2 people that hated it. For everybody who wanted some sort of Civil War theme, there was 3 people that were against it. So we were trying to talk more in the bigger picture. Do you want to have a name like Lakers, a traditional American nickname, or do you want more of the rest of the world type, United, City, that type of, and it was overwhelming in that people wanted it to be more authentic, and they wanted to tie it back to MLS Atlanta, to the world of football. So we had some ideas on where it was going, and then we asked not what nickname do you want, we asked like 80 questions about associate this word with Atlanta, with MLS Atlanta, and the obvious one was number 1, Atlanta, duh. But next you had people wanted FC. They really wanted FC, not a soccer club. They wanted a football club. But United was the 4th highest word in that association. And it was because, obviously, all the things about Atlanta that we know if you live here, the way that it's become this sort of mixed, melting pot of the cultures, the way that it was started as a transport hub, the way it's grown, there's just the diversity. And obviously United is a common, it's not really a nickname, it's just a common stamp of a club around England. So it was definitely the name that suited us. And so we went with Atlanta United, we went to MLS, and Major League Soccer were really concerned because DC United already had United. So they didn't want us to have it. So Arthur and myself went up to see Don Garber, the commissioner, and we had all of basically our whole deck of how we arrived there, all the work we'd done with the fans, the identity. At that stage, I already knew what the kit would look like with the stripes. That hadn't come out, but it wasn't just United in isolation, it was ATL UTD, as the .com, all of that together. So we had this book, we showed it to Don Garber, and he was like, yeah, fine, okay, you guys have won me over. And the point I made to Don was, look, there's 13 Uniteds in the 92 league clubs in England. No one bats an eye. The soccer audience is sophisticated enough now to understand that, we don't want to artificially give a nickname, we want our fans to come up with something. And this is all a very, very long prelude to, we're ready to do our big launch. So we booked, those of you know it's a nightclub in the West Midtown. So not what the Falcons would do, but very much what Atlanta United would do, this indoor and outdoor nightclub called the Compound. We've got it booked in 3 weeks' time to do the main launch. We're all excited, it's going to be a huge event. 5,000 people we hope are going to come. And then a guy from Sports Illustrated leaks the name. And he's not only from Sports Illustrated, but he used to work for DC United. So he spins it with United, boring, generic, plastic club. And you know what it's like with social media, whoever leads with that view. So we were getting pelters. I mean, we were getting very negative comments about the name. And it was, for me, the first, Arthur rang me up and was like, here we go. Knowing my former bosses at clubs I've been at before, I'm about to get in here fully. And he was absolutely the opposite. He was unbelievably positive. He said, look, Darren, we've spoke to our fans. We know our fans. The media out in DC, wherever around the rest of America, they don't know our fans like we do. It'll be all right, don't worry. You guys are doing a fantastic job, keep it going. And of course, we did the launch 3 weeks later. 5,000 turned up, it was unbelievable. And now, it's funny, no one even thinks about the name. You couldn't have a more perfect name for what Arthur is and what it's about. And, it proved to me, and where Arthur was brilliant was, he says, listen to the fans, listen to what they're saying, not what you want to hear, but you have to say the call sometimes. And for me, that was great because there was a wobbly moment there where I could have been persuaded, I think, to change it because of that negative feedback. And Arthur was that wise saying to the business guy who's been there, done it, who was just the arm and the shoulder I needed. I'm forever grateful for Arthur for the sort of guidance he's given me, but that was just a moment where he's such a great sort of mentor in that aspect.
Thank you. That was really inspiring. All right, so any Falcons fans? So let's tie them into, so are there any core values that are shared across Atlanta United and then the Falcons, and specifically in what ways do both teams give back to the Atlanta community?
Yeah, absolutely. So all of our businesses, so Atlanta Falcons, Atlanta United, PGA Superstores, which is really like a Home Depot for golf. It's growing year on year incredibly. It's taking that sort of logic that Arthur used for Home Depot and applying it to golf superstores. We have a ranch in Montana. All of those business units have the same core values across all of them. And what's great about that, I spoke about it a little bit earlier, but when you get those people working for you that you know that they've got those core values, and just to give some of them, listen and respond, give back to others, these are key attributes that we want from those people. It makes it really easy to then cross-promote them within departments or within business units. So a great example I'll give you now, we lost Paul Bonner, a guy I spoke about that went to Miami, who's our assistant GM, great guy, he's going to do a fantastic job there. Really sorry to lose him. So then we're thinking, crumbs, where are we going to find someone that's going to tick the box of all the attributes he had? Because he'd been a former agent, so he had he had knowledge of MLS. He worked at Orlando as a startup, brought that experience to us. We weren't going to find someone like for like. But what I felt we needed was that salary cap focus that you have. Unlike any other league in the world of soccer, we have a salary cap, and you have these capologists in other sports. And there was a guy in the Falcons who we just sort of talked to because he was within our group of businesses, and he came across basically as our replacement. Fantastic for us, we get new ideas from a different sport, we get to be groundbreaking within the world of MLS. But the one thing we don't have to worry about is he's had 12 years with the Falcons, so we know he's a good guy, we know he fits our culture. And so having that common culture really has been an advantage to us growing it. The other great thing we get is the synergies across both clubs, and I think we saw that on Monday night. So we had Monday Night Football, great for the Falcons to get their second win, going into the bye break now on a bit of a roll. But it was fantastic for us because Lewis Hamilton's there, Mercedes-Benz obviously is the sponsor. But we could do some pieces on social media with our players with him. Leandro Gonzalez-Perez was on the ESPN Deportivo's commentary of the game. So we have all of these factors where we can cross-promote that really helps both brands. But what is interesting is when I first started, I was paranoid about separating the brands. And that I think was really important to us. We couldn't be seen to be the little brother of the Falcons. We didn't want to be, we had our own voice, we had our own culture, it was different to the Falcons. So I was Mr. Atlanta United Police, and I can remember we built some shared office space temporarily at the Georgia Congress Center before we moved into the new stadium. And they had co-branded it, they hadn't run it by me, and I lost it because for me, I didn't want anything public facing where they were co-mingled. For fear of it being seen that we were this little brother of the Falcons and we were riding their coattails. The great thing now is that we're both firmly established, that we can now think strategically about how to cross-promote, because I don't have to worry anymore about us being considered the little brother. We're both different with our different personalities, and so in the, I hate to say consumer, but in the supporting mind, there's not that confusion now. We can show Atlanta Falcons games when we're having matches before a game because we're comfortable that we're a success and we don't need to sort of worry about the fact that we're pandering to another sport. We can do that now because we're celebrating Atlanta, we're celebrating our sister club. So it's really quite exciting now because we're at a new level of strategy about how do we both help cross-promote the brands, cross-promote shared services to help both of us, both on the technical side and on the business side.
Thank you.
So to kind of wrap things up here a little bit, obviously you were pretty successful in college. What advice would you give to all these young college athletes looking to take their game to the next level?
Well, I think, look, firstly, a lot of it, I know it's difficult time management, but I think, it's about that time management, and you'll learn it as you get on, but, you focus on that key, whether it's on the academic side or the sporting side, making sure that you're focusing on that key 80% that you can change. And, my personal experience is when I procrastinate and when I'm putting off things and when I end up not doing as good a job, it's because I'm focusing on the little stuff. It really doesn't matter, but I build it up in my head. And I think the great thing, if you're a student athlete, you don't have the luxury of doing that. So make sure you're giving it your best on those key moments, and don't stress too much on the little stuff. Prioritize those, and I think you'll be at least then using your resources in the best way you can.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to open it up for a little Q&A with the audience. Does anyone have a question? Oh, Rich, okay.
We can't hear you.
So you are kind of touching this a little bit. So do you have any long-term goals for any that aren't just based on profit and how do you know?
It's a great question there from Shannon. For those of you who couldn't hear at the back, so is there any other goals apart from profit? I think the first thing to state is, when I go back to those three things we were focused on, profit wasn't one of them. And interestingly, again, this is where I give great credit to Arthur. His view is you take care of those three and the profits and the bottom line will come. I think if you chase the bottom line, that's when you get into danger because you make short-term decisions that aren't good for the long-term growth. And that's any business. The brand, you've got to think medium to long term. So Atlanta United's vision, now I can share a little bit of the room here, and it does go to profit in one regard, is the MLS is probably in terms of quality of play, I'd say it's around 10th in terms of quality of play compared to other leagues. If you measure on a metric like average attendance, it's probably 7th. The TV media rights that we get matches that because there's not really that level of interest that there was in the Premier League. So when I was in the Premier League, about 70% of a club like Bournemouth would be their media rights. So their total revenue, 70% is coming from the broadcast. For Atlanta United, it's about 10%. And that tells you the difference between where we are at the moment and where we strive to get to as a league. Because if we can start to be one of those top leagues in the world, suddenly you're getting all of that extra revenue. And then the exciting part then is that you can get better talent and it becomes a virtuous circle. So our focus at Atlanta United is, of course, now we're in the moment. We want to be winning trophies, driving that amazing fan experience, being in the community. But we've also got an eye on being a top club globally, even though we're not monetizing that now, because at some stage we'll have such a head start if the league in 5-10 years' time is becoming one of the top leagues, because we've spent money on making sure our broadcast quality is top, so that it gets picked up in other countries around the world, which is what we do. So we're showing more countries than the other clubs because our broadcast production quality is so good. And that means that when we come to sell commercial partnerships, marketing, etc. in those countries, we're already going to have a head start. So we're trying to look both long-term vision as well as short-term. And it's a balancing act. Sometimes you've got to prioritise, but that's our vision, to be a top global club, and hopefully sooner rather than later.
My name is Jacob Sayre. I'm part of the Oglethorpe University men's soccer program. I'll graduate in May with my business degree. So I'm an avid soccer fan, love the sport. What I'm really curious about, kind of two questions, is one is, how are we able to kind of balance that gap with the American culture and the Latin scale with Hot Top? coming from England, and then how are you able to entice a manager that's worked for Barcelona in Argentina national team to just kind of take a risk on this startup in America that's not really well known for soccer yet?
Yeah, that's a great question. Tata Martino, I mentioned it earlier. So Tata Martino was coaching Argentina national team. His previous job had been FC Barcelona, so probably the biggest club in the world. So he'd been coaching Lionel Messi for the last 3 years, but he had a falling out with the Argentinian FA. And I actually got a call through a contact who said Tata Martino might be interesting. And I thought, yeah, right, no chance. But at that stage, you've got to do it. You take every call because you never know. So I took a very brief call, and there was a translator that we had on the line translating between us. And it went really well. It was only like a 20-25 minute call, but the questions he asked made me think that he really genuinely believed in the project. And again, another learning that I got from my time at Tottenham was you have to act with speed in the world of soccer. Or if you act with speed, you can get a head start on some other clubs that have got bigger resources because you're prepared to act quickly. So this was, I think it was a Wednesday. On Friday, myself and Carlos Bocanegra were on a plane to Rosario, where Tata lives, to go and meet him. Because from my perspective, meeting face to face, I would know straight away whether it was possible, and I could rule it out if it wasn't. And if it was possible, obviously we could then explore trying to bring him in. So we went there, we met him, and he was exactly what we needed for all the reasons I spoke about. But also where it was interesting is the previous coach that I had at Tottenham before I left, the last coach we hired, was Mauricio Pochettino. He was a huge player in Argentina. He played for a team called the Old Boys. And actually Tata was the captain of the Old Boys when Mauricio made his debut. So what was interesting is I was ringing Mauricio up to get some sort of references on Tata, and he was saying, what if Rikard, all the things you wanted to hear. Tata was ringing Mauricio to say, what about this Darren guy? Is he going to follow through on what he's saying in this vision? And it doesn't matter what business you're in, those personal relationships end up being the most valuable things that you create, because, if I'd have been a bit of a prat at Tottenham, or I told Maurizio one thing and not delivered, he would have told Tata that. I genuinely don't think we get Tata to come. Likewise, from Tata's perspective, he was obviously a good guy with Maurizio, and that gave me the comfort when we were looking to hire him. As far as the vision for Tata, I think he had a lot of the things I spoke about. He wanted to be a builder. He wanted to take this team from scratch, be able to, on the technical side, put his identity there. I think he was fed up with doing press conferences, being asked, what do you think of Lionel Messi's haircut? He just wanted to get out of that spotlight. So I think it was fortunate timing for us that he was available, and I think, like I said, it was just the perfect hire for us for that first 2 years to give us that sort of rocket fuel start that we needed coming into the league.
Lillian?
Hi, Lillian Norris. My question is as a long-term goal, are you supportive, or would you like to see a promotion and relegation system between the MLS and the second division?
I mean, that's a great question. I think certainly for the medium to long term, there isn't going to be promotion relegation, for the reason that America is a different market, and they set the league up the way they have done in the other sports, where you pay a franchise fee. So, owners now are coming in, and it could be as much as 200 million for the next. So, if you're going to tell an owner who spent 200 million on a franchise fee, plus perhaps $500 million to build a stadium, that you could get relegated, and someone that's literally spent 2 million comes up. Just, there's all of those reasons why the short to medium long term it isn't going to happen. But ultimately, it's all about market economics. So if I go to my time in the Premier League, one of the reasons why the Premier League drives the TV revenue it does is because everyone's competing at the top end for who could be the champion. But if Man City runs away with it this season and they've won it with 5 weeks to go, there's then a focus in the relegation spots, because that's drama, that's intrigue, that's excitement. There could be as many as 8 clubs fighting to not get relegated. And that drives the TV revenue, because that still drives the TV audience. So therefore, people pay more for the rights. So ultimately, will there be a day where actually creating promotion relegation grows the pie so much in terms of TV rights that everybody buys in? Sure, I think that could happen, because that's what happens in England. There's enough money if you get relegated, what they call a parachute payment, that people are comfortable with that, because they know that they're creating bigger wealth in the Premier League because they have the relegation. So it's really a question of economics.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question.
So obviously your position in hiring a coach now is a lot different than it was 3 years ago. And I've heard mentioned that it is a global search. daunting. So where do you start, and has it started here at Oglethorpe?
So this is the bit, it's been really fascinating with Arthur. You know, the difference of Falcons to United, obviously you're in an artificial world with American football because there's nowhere else that plays it really. You've got the whole sort of recruitment process buttoned up because they're coming from college for free. I mean, it's the best gig you could possibly have if you were to like set up a sport, because we have to compete with every country in the world, not only on players but also on coaching staff. And so there is that factor. But what tends to happen in ways, I've always got a rolling list in my mind because you never know when a coach is going to get poached from you anyway. So you've got an idea in your head of some people that you're always thinking about they would be a good coach for the future. Then there'll be some people like Tata was surprised that come out of the woodwork that all their agents or intermediary will contact the club and they'll sort of put themselves, throw their hat into the ring. And then there'll be some that I've identified that I don't personally know, but I like their style of play, or I feel that they're somebody that we could be interested in. We'll distill that down to in effect, a sort of shortlist that we'll go and speak to them in person, and then it'll be just a filtering process. What I like and what I've said is different is I don't have the stress time-wise that I've had in the past. So it's actually quite nice to be able to say, okay, I've got like a week to field everybody in, and then we'll start the formal process. Like I said, I did it at Tottenham before, where I literally had 24 hours and we had to get it done. So you're meeting with the 3 coaches in 3 different rooms in a hotel, hoping that they don't meet each other, and you're kind of negotiate with each of them to then finally, decide on the one you want, and then get someone else to tell the other 2 that they're not got it.
Well, thank you. Please join me in thanking Darren. Breakfast downtown this morning, and I thought I saw you and Jose Mourinho were you having coffee? Is that where we can start? No? I want to just take a moment, thank all of you for coming. Let me ask all of our intercollegiate athletes, would you just stand? So, that's a good part of the crowd. In the front and back. Thank you for what you do. And we've had an exciting men's soccer team. You've got a soccer season. You've got a bag of goodies there. But I think it's the first time in the conference. This is our 4th straight conference championship we've won. First time the team has gone through the season without a defeat. First time any team, I think, has gone through the conference without a defeat. So men's soccer team. We've got some good players. We've got some good players and a good coach. So again, thank you all for being here. We very much appreciate your being here. We did have Arthur Blank was here maybe 4 or 5 years ago in a similar format. Lasted about an hour. I was actually asking him the questions. I asked him one question, and an hour later he finished answering it, and that was it. So you all did a terrific job. Thank you. So enjoy your.